Quackity was at a loss for what was happening. One moment he is just calmly doing his rounds around the server, the usual, and the next he is face to face with a man he knew should be dead. Well, of course, he knew the revival book, he had never considered it a possibility for Dream to revive Wilbur. It didn't make sense. Wilbur had spent most of his time on the server making Dream's life hell. So why would the masked bastard revive him? He should have known that though that a man as desperate as Dream would do anything if it gave him even the slightest bit of power back. He should have known. He didn't speak with Wilbur long, the wounds that the other had left still too fresh for him to just brush off. While he recently had been slowly realizing that some of what Wilbur had once told him was right, he wasn't an idiot, and neither was the man across from him. Wilbur had been delusional from the moment he had got a taste of power. He was obsessed. His teachings, no matter how smart and poetic they might have once sounded, were ramblings of a man so far lost in his own spiraling that he started to drag others into his madness. His words didn't hold up anymore. Yet still, Quackity found himself still hurting over the elections, over Wilbur's constant berating and insistence that he was the only proper president for L'Manberg, that only he could keep the country running. It hurt even worse, considering they had been friends before that. Not close friends, but still friends. To hear from your own friend that he thinks you are unworthy of something you are convinced you could do hurts on a different scale. Wilbur hadn't even been right. While yes, Schlatt had been a bad choice to team up with, Quackity did an alright job keeping L'Manberg, or Manberg, afloat. The country was flourishing, the economy booming, and the citizens were mostly content. It was only when Poptopia started to get involved and Schlatt got more heavy-handed that things turned to shit. But that wasn't his fault. He couldn't have known what kind of tyrant Schlatt was. It wasn't his fault. Of course, he still felt guilty for what happened to Tubbo, for the mistreatment of the younger teen. If he had known, he would have never sided with Schlatt during the elections. He knew Tubbo didn't blame him for what happened, but he did blame himself. He could have stepped in, he should have stepped in, but he didn't. He had hoped things would be different with the new L'Manberg, but that wasn't about the same as old L'Manberg had, though this time he himself had a hand in it too. Going after Technoblade had been a bad idea. He could see that now. Forcing Phil into coercion and putting him on house arrest had been a bad idea too. Letting a teenager who is traumatized by war, who is grieving the loss of a brother figure, who is clearly struggling to keep it all together, lead a nation was another bad idea. New L'Manberg's foundation had been built upon bad ideas. It wasn't just one thing, it was dumb idea after dumb idea after dumb idea. It was never meant to work out. But things would be different now. Lost Nevadas wasn't a bad idea. Its foundation stronger than any other nation the server had seen. Quackity wasn't going to watch another nation crash and burn. He had seen too many. If it meant that he couldn't bring his fiancées in to join his nation, then so be it. They would be safer this way. Power corrupts people, and he can't put them through that. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a poisonous voice reminded him that even if he wanted to show them Las Nevadas, they wouldn't be interested. They had their own nation to run, after all, a nation they had